So, Charles, who you think you talking to? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I will be reviewing one of my favorite shows, The Crown, that's on Netflix. Season 4 full-blown review. Every episode we're just gonna dive deep into it because oh my gosh, it's such a good show. It's like it's definitely political drama, all of that. If you don't know about the show, it's basically, not even basically, it is about Queen Elizabeth and her reign from the start of season 1 when her father died and she has to become queen, to season 4 where it's talking about like Diana and Charles and Mary. Their marriage is falling apart. They already have William and Harry and all of that in between. So far that's between season 1 and 4 where we're at now. They wasn't going to give us a season 5, but they agreed to give us a season 5. Thank you, because I was going to be upset if you just stop right at the good part. Well, not the good part, but you know, the juicy, more juicy parts of their, story. So let's just start. So the first episode goes spec. Lord Mountbatten, straight off the top, he gets assassinated. So sad. But before even that, his letter, after he and Charles had a whole argument or whatever about like basically like duty and who, him getting married to someone he doesn't really care about, and he still wants to be with Camilla, and he thinking his favorite uncle is gonna be on his side, and Lord Mountbatten was like, sir, no, everyone got to do what they got to do. It's your duty. Stop. And you would think, he writing the letter, he'd be like, I'm so sorry. He was like, no, you got to get it together. Like, marry her, end of story, move on. So he dies. Of course, Charles takes it kind of hard. Obviously, that's his favorite, probably like family member. So that was sad. We see him meeting Diana, but he dated Diana's older sister, Sarah. So, you see him and Sarah hanging out, and you see like Diana in like the background kind of, but you see like a small little meet, her talking about she's in this play or whatever, because he married Diana when she was like 20. So she was like a young thing, but I mean, we're going to get into that later. All right. So second episode, the Balmoral. There was no episode, well, maybe there was a few, but the episode that got me upset was definitely the second episode, the Balmoral test, regarding the Royals inviting the new Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher, over to where they was going to be at, I guess, for like a couple of days, for like holidays or whatever it was. And it was like a test, she's the new Prime Minister. Let's see if she's, going to fit in or whatever. So, Margaret's bringing all her gear, like, we're all going to be dressed nice and everything. And she goes to the family. They're all in their hunting gear. And no one said anything. They gave her the itinerary sheet when she got there with her husband. So I think that was, first of all, a total disrespect. Like, it's cool you invited her over to where y'all was going to be, but it's so disrespectful that you knew y'all are hunting family. You don't even tell her, hey, bring your some slacks or something, bring some booze, because we're going to be, walking in dirt and mud, whatever it was. And you didn't let her know that. I just think that was just extremely disrespectful. And even also, Margaret is not that type of person. She's not that like hunting type. Never did that with her family. So it's obviously a different type of a world. It's different. It's new to her. But even so, you still could have told her ahead of time, and she still could have prepared or something, I just think it was just like completely disrespectful out of anything. That was just, then she sat in Queen Victoria's chair, and she didn't even know it was Queen Victoria's chair. It was just a whole thing. And then they gave her and her husband like separate bedrooms, because it's like this royal thing where like married couples in the royal family, I guess they could sleep in separate bedrooms. But Margaret is like, this is my husband, I'm asleep in the same bed with him. Like, no. So her husband's like, well, you got work to do, I can just sleep. She's like, no, we're not bringing that type of issues into our relationship. Like, no, we're not bringing these things home. No, we're sleeping in the same bed. She was like, here's a book, go read a book. He's like on one side reading out loud, and she's like looking over paperwork and stuff. So it's just like hilarious but cute, but it also shows like how she was like, no, we're not about to bring this type of mess. Like, what married couple really sleeps in two separate beds? Whatever. Anyway, but I just thought that was just crazy because that was just disrespectful. Whatever. I think they had a similar test for Diana, but she passed it with flying colors. You know, everyone loved her. She went hunting with Prince Philip. That was amazing. Well, I don't want to say hunting was amazing, but they had a good time. If it wasn't for her telling him where to shoot, they wouldn't have got what they was looking for. Even though I felt so bad for that animal. Oh my gosh, I was just like, I can't watch this, but yeah, or whatever. So everyone loves her. So they're just like, yes, but Charles still over Camilla. Not over Camilla. It's like, but Camilla though, no sir. Any hoodles. So the third episode, fairy tale, mostly, you know, the whole engagement. Oh, you know, he got to get engaged to Diana. Everyone's just like, yo, we love her. You just got to move on. Like, at this point, marry her. Hurry up before she gets taken away. Like, this is your chance. Whatever. But he clearly wasn't happy, and the family knew that. And if times was reversed, I wish they would have just let him marry Camilla, because the whole thing, I feel like the only good things that came out of his and Diana's relationship, their marriage, was obviously her philanthropy and stuff like that, but also obviously William and Harry, whose name was like Henry, but whatever. Yeah, so, but I just think that was just so crazy, and he felt like she wasn't who he wanted to marry, and he's still thinking about Camilla, and he's still going to High Grove, bought a house near her, 15 minutes away from her, so he can go and just be with her. But that's like later on, but it was still just like, I'm like, really, dude? Like, I understand you're hurt, because who doesn't want to be with the person they're supposed to, who they love? But at the same time, it's duty. Like, Anne wasn't happy with her husband, Mark. The Queen had her issues with Philip early on with him, and he's not happy. You know, he feeling like an outsider, which they was treating Philip bad. They really was, but still, and him and his little club that he was at, and him and his little ballerina, his dancing little girlfriends, whatever, you know. So that's like a whole nother, like, you got to go back to like early seasons to deal with all that, because I'm not just going to discuss all of that today. The episode for favorites, what I love, which was interesting, was also Margaret Thatcher's child was missing, her son, and she tells Queen Elizabeth, because Elizabeth's like looking at her like she's off, and then she kind of starts crying a little bit. So, you know, she eventually confesses that her son is missing, and she said my favorite child, which got her thinking, like, that's kind of weird, like, that you would blatantly say you have a favorite child. And, you know, so she mentions it to Philip, and she's like, do we have favorite children? And Philip was like, yeah, Anne is my favorite. And Elizabeth was like, I don't think parents should have favorites. And Philip was like, you know you do. We all know who you do. And then she's like in the episode talking to each of one of her kids. And you see the dynamic and how interesting it is. And even a little bit with, like, you know, Diana and her, you know, talking about her, because she wants to bathe the children herself, and she wants to do this with herself. And when she wants to travel, she wants to bring the kids with her. It's just like, and, you know, some of the family members like, why would she do that? You know, and that just shows like the different versions of motherhood in people's heads, especially as a royal. But I just thought that was interesting. And then you find out later on in the episode, it's like kind of like an unspoken thing out of all the kids. But then you see the way she lights up with Andrew when she's like, she sees Andrew, he's like, mommy, or whatever. And she's just all smiling from ear to ear, compared to some of her other kids, she's smiling, but it's definitely different. So even if she didn't really directly have to say Andrew was her favorite, I was like, I want to see if I could pick up on who's her favorite. And I felt like, I knew it wasn't Charles. I knew it wasn't Anne. I knew Anne definitely would have been Philip's favorite. I was like, it was between Edward or Andrew, because they have 4 kids. So I was just between Edward or Andrew, but I wasn't sure who it was. And it was also sad to, you know, with Edward, when he found out that he was getting bullied, you know, and people put in like pee in his drink and stuff like that or whatever. Like, it was just so sad. And, you know, you could see her like, oh my gosh, like, that's terrible. And he just like, it's just something, you know, it happens, you just got to deal with it. But I'm interested because Andrew is her favorite, but the whole thing with the Jeff Epstein, you know, he and Andrew was cool. So, and he stepped down, I believe, from his royal duties late last year, early this year because of it. So I'm like, if he was still her favorite, I know that's kind of like a smack in the face, which I feel like you shouldn't have favorites, but I feel like parents sometimes, it's like, you know who to call, like, no shade. Like, if you don't have a favorite, you just know in certain situations, like, who to ask. Like, certain stuff I know my mother does not ask me to do because she's just like, Keanu's going to mess it up. And it's not being disrespectful. I'm like, it's just true, because I'm just going to be like, huh, what? She's just like, I ain't got time for that. You know, she knows who to call for certain things. So, you know, but that's not favoritism. You know, I don't, even if you have a favorite, say you don't have a favorite and lie, because that's going to hurt somebody, especially even if they know. Like, if it's between Sally, Billy Bob, and Melissa, and everybody knows Billy Bob is your favorite, when you actually say to them, Billy Bob is my favorite, like, that just confirms everything for them. I mean, you shouldn't be showing favoritism to anybody, because I personally feel like nepotism is for the weak. But, you know, I still feel like, you know, you kind of got to watch out for that. Like, you really got to. So parents, or people thinking about having kids, like, really be careful with that, because kids are smart. They pick up on that. But yeah, that 5, oh my gosh, Fagan, about Michael Fagan, who broke into the Buckingham Palace, not once, but twice. Yes, twice. First time, drunk some champagne, ate some crackers, whatever, just chilling or whatever. Second time, broke in there or whatever. And Elizabeth was thinking it's just one of her people's, like, who bringing her tea, like, oh, it's kind of early, whatever. And then sees him, she's, you know, frightened, just like, what is wrong with you? Like, this dude could kill me or whatever. She's trying to get on the phone. He, like, hung up the phone. Then he goes, she says he's bleeding because he, like scratched his hand on, like, some glass or whatever. She tries to, like, call, like ding a button. That didn't work out because they vacuum in. It's early on, so everyone's probably not even there anyway. So that was the whole thing. But they have, like, a real interesting conversation about the whole thing, especially with, like, Margaret Thatcher and how they call her this Iron Lady, and how it was like 3 million people at that time who was out of work and different things. And, you know, the Queen is just like, yo, you know, we got to fix this. And Margaret's kind of like, do we really though? Like, it's like her, I feel like her mindset was like, things have to get worse before it gets better, but things were getting so bad. It was just like, come on, like, you can't just keep letting it go. Like, you give, you know, a little something, something. Like, they won that with the Falcon Islands thing, which was good, which was a victory, but it was still, like, certain things that still needed to be done. You know, especially with all them people out of work, 3 million people in your own country out of work. Like, that's a lot of people. Like, come on. Something had to be done, and they couldn't see eye to eye at times, you know. Like, Margaret Thatcher is that person who's just like, I said what I said, I did what I did, and I'm not going to apologize for it, you know. It is what it is. Or whatever. Then it was episode 6, Terranula Nuelis, however you say it or whatever. That's when, like, Charles and Diana are in, I believe, like, Australia or whatever, and they're doing different things, and they have, like, they're, like, arguing. Then you have moments when they're good. It's just like, you can, that's, like, I feel like really when the marriages really went, like, really sour and different things like that. It was just, it was like, One of the most powerful episodes of this season, I definitely would say, is episode 7 with the hereditary principles, where Princess Margaret finds out about their cousins who they thought were dead but were actually alive, but they was in a psychiatric hospital. So it was weird because it says in the books that they were dead when in reality they were alive. So she had this guy that she was seeing, you know, act like he was like this priest or whatever, to go in and talk to them. And they remembered, you know, they were still talking about like Princess Margaret and the Queen and stuff like that. And when they were celebrating their birthdays, you saw like the clips of them having their cake and they were just celebrating, you know, people just thinking that they're just delusional, not knowing that they're actually related. They were young, but they remember, you know. And Margaret's like yelling at her mother, like, how could you do that? You know, but it was like at the time, you know, your uncle abdicated the throne, so your father, it was just too much. So, you know, we didn't want, it was like some people on that side who did have mental illnesses, and we didn't want people to think that we had mental illnesses that are ran on our side. So we just kind of just cut off that side of the family. But, you know, Margaret's like, I get it, but that's not fair. That's not right. And then they remember, and that's family. You can't just toss family aside, you know. So Margaret, you know, her not being happy, and she's just like, you know what? I'm done with my love life. I just want to devote time to my family, devote time to, you know, my duties. And the Queen was like, yes, but then brought in somebody else and was just like, because Diana had the 2 kids, you're outranked. So some of the stuff that you're supposed to be doing, we can't really be having you do, we can't have you do those things mainly anymore, because you don't really have that royal title as you used to. Because now you got Diana now, who's married to Charles. Then on top of that, you got their 2 kids. So now you're being pushed further out. So now instead of you being 3 people closer to the crown, you're like 3 people kind of like less, like pushed away. So that was like a whole thing again. And I felt bad for Mark, especially her wanted to marry who she wanted to marry, I believe, marry at the beginning, and then they couldn't. And her, you know, her life, I felt honestly sad for Margaret. Then episode 8, 48 and 1, with the whole factions thing, you know, with Nelson Mandela and them trying to figure out what to do. It was just a lot in that episode, and they was all waiting for Margaret to agree. All the other nations agreed to this, but except Margaret. So that's why it's called 48 to 1. And anytime they brought, you know, the bill for her to sign, she would say no, cross it out with like a red marker. You would thought she was a principal or like a teacher or something like that. She was just like, no, I don't like that word. Then you have to go back and revamp it or whatever. And she was just taking so much time. And they're just all like, hello, like, even Elizabeth was like, yo, you taking too long. Like, you got to sign it. It was like, no, I wouldn't. It was like a whole thing. Very powerful episode, but, you know, episode 9, we're almost there, guys. We're almost at the end. Avalanche with Charles is on a ski trip, and he basically almost gets killed. It was like this accident, but he survives. And, you know, after, when you have a major near-death experience, you're just like, okay, this is what I want to do. You know, other stuff doesn't matter. You want to be with who you want to be with. So he's like on Team Camilla at now. Before he was, but now he's just like, yo, I do not want to be married to Diana. I can't stand her at this point. Like, we just gotta kick her out. Like, I'm over her. And they're like, no, that ain't about to happen. Like, you gotta bulk up. No. So, the Queen decided hearing this, like, Diana's trying to talk to the Queen. Yo, your son wildin'. He's trying to talk to his mother. Yo, she wildin'. Like, I need to be with Camilla. So she sits them both down. She's like, yo, what do you want at this point in time? Like, what do you want? Charles is getting ready to say, I want a divorce. Diana was like, no, wait, stop the madness. No, I want to make it work. Or whatever. And Charles is livid. He's just doing? He just brewing, sitting on that couch, just like, I was really about to just be like, no, let's get a divorce. So there was like, Elizabeth heard her saying, oh, she wants to make it work. So she was like, all right, cool. But Charles was like, wait, but I never said you. She was just like, what is the issue? Like, she wants to make it work. Make it work. That's it. So now Charles is like, it doesn't say he is, kind of, but you see that he's purposely like ignoring her. Like, she'll call, he wouldn't answer. He just giving her the cold shoulder, like really hard, worse than before. So now she's having all these lovers and stuff like that, because she was having lovers before, but then she ended it. Now, you know, he's not answering her or whatever. So she's just like, oh my gosh, I gotta be with this man. Oh my gosh. Like, no. Now she's just like, for all of that, you know, he's ignoring me. Let me get my lovers or whatever. But Charles was having some of his people like follow her and watch, like, yo, if she's with this dude or whatever, that's it. Like, that's the tip of the iceberg or whatever. But knowing he's still going, talking to Camilla, meeting her like in like the middle of a field or whatnot, gonna, you know, saying, if I leave my marriage, you need to leave your husband. Like, some mess. And Camilla's like, fine, whatevs or whatever. But she was just like, it was gonna be a lot for me to do that, but fine, I'm with you or whatever. Now, last episode, war. Thatcher wants to become, wants to renew her term to be prime minister. The people are like, no. And the major support she needed was one of her eldest colleagues, and he said he's not supporting her. Like, he's leaving. Like, he's just like, I can't deal with her. Boom, pam, boom. No. And that was just like, yo, like, he, out of anybody, does not want to be with her, then we got to be out. So everyone slowly by slowly just not. So she like goes to her room and she's just crying because she knows like that's it. Like, she's not going to be prime minister. Like, that support that she needed, she ain't getting. She's talking to, you know, all these people that's like, you know, that's at Downing Street and stuff like that. And they're all like, we love you. No. She's like, do I have a silver? Yes. But it's always that but. Anytime someone says, I love you, but erase everything before that but. Because now the truth is about to settle in. So they're just like, but the odds are against you. Sorry about it, sis. You just got to deal with it. And yeah, they're just like, sorry about it. Not really sorry about it. Just left. So now she's like, I'm definitely not. So she went to the queen. She's like, yo, I'm about to disband parliament. Like, that's it. And the queen is like, that is not wise. Like, sometimes you just got to stop. Like, how is that going to help the country? Because you're mad because someone wants to support you. It's sad, but at the same time, how is that really helping you, even though Margaret has the power to do it? You know, they're just, you know, Elizabeth's like, use those brains. That ain't gonna happen. So she was just like, all right, whatever. But then it was nice. She gives her the an award for merit, the Merit of Freedom, I believe. She gave to her, whatever, for service, because she was the first prime minister, and it was like this rare medal that they don't give to a lot of people or whatever. So, you know, which was interesting because this season you saw a lot of like back and forth, you know, with, you know, even Margaret Thatcher interrupting the queen, just like, nah, see, sis, that ain't about to happen. And even if you look into like history, even Elizabeth's mother didn't want Elizabeth to bring Margaret to Buckingham Palace. But when she found out it was Margaret, she was just like, oh my gosh, like, you have to, because she loved her. She was like, that was one of her favorite, like, politicians, her queen mother. Cause she's like, why you gonna write the first women prime minister? But it's whatever. What I also like about the last episode is how Charles was like, I'm over it. And his mother, like, for the first time was just like, no. Like, this is, you can't just, because he's blaming, at this point, he's blaming Diana. Like, making it seem like it's her fault. And Elizabeth was like, no. Like, this is your doing too. Like, you going around and you having this affair. Blatantly, everyone knows it. And it's pushing her to hurt herself. And for her to have lovers and different things like that or whatever. When you can't even do like your own duty, you know, and if you expect to be king, you got to get yourself in line. Like, she was about it. Yes, I feel like it's definitely a strife between, you know, her and her kids and different things like that. But that definitely was like a moment where I was like, wow, like finally, because I feel like he really needed to hear. Of course, clearly he ends up, you know, divorcing Diana and getting with Camilla. But I just feel like in that moment, like, yo, you need to come down to Humble City and really like check yourself, because you make it seem like she's this worst monster when in reality you have a part to play in this relationship too. You know, if you probably treat Diana the same way you was, the same energy you treat in and you hide in and you plain stank trying to be with Camilla, you probably put that same energy into Diana. I mean, I probably would have been happy, you know, maybe, maybe not, but come on, that was the whole thing. So overall, it was a good season. I talked a lot about politics and what happens when people are fed up with the economy, which is why a lot of people say the government should not, the people shouldn't be afraid of the government should be afraid of the people, which is true. I wish for this season, they talked about in 1974, Princess Anne was kidnapped. And like some of the people she was with, like I think one of her like security guards or whatever got like shot 3 times or something like that. And it was this boxer who just happened to be at the right place, right time, who punched the person trying to hurt her, you know, because the guy was like, get in the car, you know, get out the car. And, you know, and it's like, not bloody likely. This was like, no, I ain't going nowhere with you or whatever. And gladly this boxer being at the right place, the right time, you know, fought the guy off and grabbed Anne, and they left and, you know, brought her, you know, to safety. And they gave her, not gave her, they gave the boxer a medal for that. That was good for him. I thought they would have went a little bit more into, they talked about Margaret Thatcher being, you know, other countries loving her, but sis got like a whole 7 awards from different like countries like Croatia, Japan. She even got 2 medals from the United States out of those 7. One of them was the Presidential Medal of Freedom. You know, they talked about it. They said like George H.W. Bush, you know, calls when he found out that I wasn't going to be prime minister anymore, whatever, saying it was like a disservice or whatever. But he definitely did love her. She got 2 awards. One was Presidential Medal of Freedom. They don't give that out to people, especially people who are not American. They don't really give those out a lot to other political figures like that. So that can tell like a little bit of how much, you know. But they compare her reign as prime minister, they call it Thatcherism, which goes hand in hand to Reaganomics in the U.S. So if you know about Reaganomics, it's hand in hand with Thatcherism. So I guess I could a little bit help you process how it was. I think is that all, but also another interesting fact, when Margaret Thatcher died in 2013, the number 2 song on the music charts in the UK was Ding Dong, The Witch is Dead. Now, it's kind of funny, but it's sad at the same time. But again, that shows how people, even if you do some good things or whatever, even though it was on the fence with that, you know, people are entitled to their opinion. And just because you feel like you've done a lot, other people may feel like you haven't. So, you know, they called her the Iron Lady for a reason. She did what she had to do. Some things is debatable, you know, but hey, she got to do what she got to do. Any hoodles. It's such a good show. I'm telling you, like, watch it. My rule of thumb when it comes to movies and shows, watch the first 20 minutes. If you're not intrigued to watch it, stop watching it, because, you know, but then certain shows, certain episodes, beginning episodes, it's a little slow. It takes some time to build up, but yeah. So I really feel like if you kind of like learning more about, you know, Queen Elizabeth, it's such a good show. I even feel like people who are not really history type of people like I am love the show too. It's such a good show. I love when Claire Foy was the queen, and I was a little shaky when they made Olivia Colman the new queen, because I'm like, I just don't understand why he doesn't put makeup on Claire's face. But Olivia Colman, she does a great job, so I'm excited for this next season. That's the final season, so hopefully they talk about, you know, obviously Diana's death, probably Princess Margaret's death, Queen Mother, because Princess Margaret and Queen Mother died right behind each other. So that, you know, Harry and William, and then eventually some years later after Diana's death, you know, eventually Charles marries Camilla after all of that. And, you know, that was a whole thing in itself. And she doesn't have the title of queen. She's just like a consort, kind of how what Philip is to the queen. It's like an interesting thing though. But yeah, I'm excited to see how it's going to play out. I know it's going to be sad when it gets to after the divorce with Diana, because, you know, a year after they got divorced in 96, she died in 97. So I know that episode's gonna be already emotional already, but yes, I'm excited for the final season. I'm telling you, watch the show. I feel like my top 2 shows so far of this year definitely is still obviously The Crown and also Lovecraft Country. That's another show I should do a full review of. But definitely, if you have the chance, watch 20 minutes, see if you like. If you don't, hey, whatever. But if you do, below. We gotta talk. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.